Hello and welcome back to the channel, and welcome to a new video. Now, my previous videos have had a whiff of GA aircraft about them. We've had Cessnas, we've had all sorts of little light aircraft. Last video was the closest we got to a military aircraft, but still it was a Cessna 310R, the Blue Canoe of the United States Air Force. Well, I'm going to readdress this with going straight to the home of the warbird in the UK and flying an actual warbird, because we have in front of us the Inibuilds F4F Wildcat. And it is a beautiful aircraft. Really do enjoy flying this aircraft. Now, before we go into the aircraft, I just want to say where I am. I'm actually at Imperial War Museum Duxford, which is in Cambridgeshire in the United Kingdom, and this to me is the home of the warbird here in the United Kingdom. Up till last year they had the world-renowned Flying Legends air show based here, and you could see Spitfires and Mustangs and Hurricanes and B-17s and PBYs, anything with a propeller on it at the front of it was invited to Flying Legends. In fact, I don't believe they ever had jet aircraft. The closest they got would be the Korean War Sea Fury, although I could be wrong about that. I think they may have had a MiG-15 at some point, but mostly known for, well, those aircraft sat in front of us now, the Spitfire, and also known for this aircraft, the F4F Wildcat. Now, technically, this is a British Royal Navy Fleet Air Arm Wildcat, and it's not actually called the Wildcat. For those that don't know, the F4F Wildcat entered the United States Navy service early in the Second World War, and it was the fighter that defended the likes of Midway and that kind of thing. Very historic aircraft. Not the best fighter plane, but it was what was available at the time. But the Americans have this wonderful ability to name aircraft with some awesome names. So we had Wildcat, we had the Avenger, we had the Hellcat, we had the Corsair. These aircraft were lent to the Fleet Air Arm and other forces. But the Fleet Air Arm did change the names for some unknown reasons. So, where if this was the United States Navy would be the Wildcat, the Fleet Air Arm even called it the Martlet. I don't even know what a Martlet is. Is it a fish or something? I haven't a clue. The Avenger torpedo bomber, legendary, one of the best torpedo bombers of World War II. Again, Avenger, awesome name. What do we call it? The Tarpon. Again, I have no idea what a Tarpon is. Hellcat, the aircraft that actually superseded the Wildcat. Again, probably one of the best World War II fighters in the Pacific era. Heavily armed with 650 cal, I do believe 650 cal machine guns, could take a lot of punishment and could dish out that punishment and could actually fight the Zero, something that the Wildcat couldn't do. The Hellcat could fight the Zero one-on-one. So what do we call it? The Gannet. For some odd reason, when we got round to having the Corsair, we didn't change its name, so it was the Corsair. I do, it was Corsair Mark 1 for the Fleet Air Arm. So a little bit of backstory there. So moving on to the Inibuilds F4F. This is a very, very excellent warbird. Just see the lighting off the wings here, just showing the depth with the riveting and the panels not being completely straight and flush. Absolutely awesome. At the moment, obviously, like I say, wings are folded and stowed, ready for being on an aircraft carrier, which obviously we would change. But the exterior modelling on this is absolutely awesome. I used to think that the Spitfire, which may feature later on in future videos, was the best warbird in Microsoft Flight Sim. I do believe the Wildcat is certainly up there in external look. I mean, you just look at everything about this. It just looks like the real thing. Internally, if I get the camera back to being how it should be. Internally, we have a fairly accurate rendition of an F4F cockpit. Everything seems to be clickable that you need to work with. It is obviously of the era, so you know, if you're used to flying newer aircraft, some of these instruments and switches will be a little bit not so much what you're used to, but it is a very simple-ish aircraft. It does suffer from, and this is the F4F in general, not this Inibuilds F4F, but the Wildcat does suffer with a few little issues. Also, same issues as what the Spitfire over there suffer with, and that is its undercarriage. The undercarriage on the Spitfire is very narrow track. It means taxiing it can be a bit of a pain in the butt. And the F4F does have the same problem, a very narrow track undercarriage. So you have to take your time with this, and it's a good aircraft. So, we're at Duxford, we're in a warbird. What we're going to do? Well, we're going to be taxiing out and we're going to be taking off on the concrete runway, which is just over to our 11 o'clock, just over there somewhere. And we're going to put the Wildcat through a bit of a display routine. I haven't practiced this. Well, I say I haven't practiced it. I've been flying the Wildcat, but I haven't really got a routine set up. But we are going to try and, well, just show what the F4F can do. So, let's get this aircraft going. So, we're going to go, we're not going to do this by the books. Obviously, we don't do things by the books around here. So, we're going to have a battery on. Running to the back here, we have the fuel lever is set to the main tank. Mixture is forward. Prop pitch is forward. Throttle is cracked. Magneto set to on. Emergency fuel pump we do not need. We're going to open the cowl flaps. Let the engine breathe a bit. You can do this so that I actually have to press this and dial it with my mouse wheel, but at the moment I've got it set up so that it just one click and away you go. So, battery is on, generator is off, we don't need that just yet. Tail wheel is unlocked, that's not really a problem at the moment. I've got to prime the engine. Should be just about good enough. So, let's get this warbird into started up. So we're going to sit on the brakes. And we are going to start up. Just checking the area at the front. Quite difficult when you've got the wings folded, but clear prop. Lovely bit of smoke there from the cockpit. So, we are now going to come with the generators switched on. Artificial horizon is on. Throttling back a little bit. I do like that the cowl flaps are actually shaking with the engine. Gives it a bit of a sense of theatrics about this aircraft. So let's get these wings open, because at the moment I can't see bugger all. So we have our switches down here. Select wing. I do believe the real wings on the F4F actually do fold out with gravity. So once you unlatch them, they will fall out themselves. Whereas other aircraft have powered wing movement. So I'm going to set our flaps. One thing you will notice, you can't actually see the flaps because the flaps are actually underneath the wings. They don't show anything on the top. So if we go at an exterior view, you can see the wing flaps are now set to half position. So, control check, rudder check, remembering that the undercarriage is narrow, so we do have to take a little bit of time on our taxi. And with the tail wheel unlocked, just tapping the brakes and rudder at the same time gets us a nice steady taxi past the Hurricanes and the Spitfires. I do wish there was more AI aircraft here on this scenery. This is a downloaded version of Duxford. Doesn't come with a flight simulator, but it is very easy to install. So we're going to just sit just out here. So I didn't really want to stop there, but so we do have two runways. We have the concrete runway if we just follow the taxiway out there, and we also have the grass strip. We're not going to be using the grass strip today. So just checking that everything is set. Bit of trim, positive trim. I think we can actually, I'm about to shut the canopy. And I just had to check where the actual canopy controls are for the F4F. This is the control here. We have different positions for the canopy. So typical takeoff would have the canopy open just in case the pilot has to get out. So we'll leave the canopy open until we get into the air. Another interesting fact about the F4F, the undercarriage controls, like the cowl flaps being a windy lever, the F4F has a windy lever for its undercarriage. So the pilot has to, in the act of taking off, control the throttle, control the direction of the aircraft, obviously, making sure that, you know, the takeoff is going well and climbing, but also has to wind the lever to retract the undercarriage, and I think it's something like 20 odd times, 20 odd revolutions. So when you see a real F4F at a display, they will have a steep climb out trying to keep the speed down whilst the pilot retracts the undercarriage, because the faster you go, the harder it is to retract the undercarriage. So anyway, we don't have to worry about that. We have gear controls already set up. So prop pitch is set, mixture is set. We'll be taking off, departing out to the right, behind Duxford, and checking everything's alright, retrimming the aircraft out, and resetting in for our run-in back in on this runway heading now. So, coming off parking brake, sitting on the wheel brakes, throttling up to about 50% off the brakes. Slowly feeding in the throttle, dancing on the rudder, tail's already up. Airspeed past 100, and we're airborne. Not the most smoothest of takeoffs, but retracting the undercarriage. As you can see, that windy lever winding away. Obviously the pilot would have to do that for real if it was obviously a real aircraft. Still retracting. Undercarriage stowed. Flaps coming up. and shut the canopy. Obviously have different latch positions. And there we go. Flaps are up, gear is up, mixture's coming back a bit, pop pitch coming back. We'll close the cowl flaps and start into a right hand turn. I always thought that Inibuilds graphically made an excellent rendition of the F4F. I did think that maybe the sound was a little bit off. It's not a smooth engine, it's not like a Spitfire. But the more I fly it, the more I like it. So just retrimming the aircraft out. Duxford is currently under the right wing there. So we're going to head out towards Cambridge, which will be over that way. We're not going to depart too far from the area. So I'm going to check the controls to make sure we are free from manoeuvrability. Of course, anyone who'd attended the Flying Legends air show, or any of the Duxford air shows in general, know that warbirds generally come out to this area to do their checks before they start their display. So we're going to turn out to the left here and go into a little bit of an orbit, checking that everything is alright with the engine. Obviously a real warbird is looked after. The Inibuilds or flight simulator versions obviously are perfect. Current airspeed approaching about 240 knots, slight bit of a dive. Duxford off the nose, and we're going to start our running. Aiming for the super hangar. We will be to the left of the super hangar and in going over the main runway. So here we go, starting the running. A little bit high to gain the air speed. Got the runway in sight. Just showing off the top side of the aircraft. Wings level, past the airfield, started our climb. Watching the speed bleed away, and we will go into a left-hand turn. Maintaining positive pressure, altitude gaining, altitude level, 160 knots and increasing. Looking for our reference points for the airfield. A nice steady underside shot of the F4F. Obviously gaining altitude as we go over the motorway. We'll continue a right-hand turn to head straight in towards the runway. Track IR having fun. Reflections looking really, really good in the cockpit. Back in towards the runway, centre line, turning out to the left. Not overstressing the aircraft. Obviously it is a warbird. It is very much capable of doing a lot more manoeuvrability, but this is not what you normally see at Duxford. Getting some altitude, straight into the sun. Airspeed bleeding off. Down to about 160. Kicking the rudder over. Don't want to be going down to about 140 knots. Would be our minimum. And we're going to set up for a bow roll. Airspeed gaining. Past 250. Wings level. Starting our climb. And over to the right. To fly round the barrel. And departing off to the left. Getting our reference points, there's a super hangar. Keeping our altitude. In fact, starting to gain a little bit of altitude now. Relax. Going into the right hand turn. Repositioning, and once again track IR. Got the airfield in sight. And now we're going to go into a flat turn to the left. So over the runway, reposition a little bit. Rudder straight, control straight, speed is good, altitude is good. So we go 3/4 of the way down the runway. Pull up a little bit and into a left-hand turn. Using the rudder to control the aircraft in the turn. Looking for the airfield. Just lessening off the turn a little bit. And coming back over. Just touching towards the motorway. And completing the turn. Wings level, nose back, and we'll pull out over the Land Warfare Museum. So we're going to reposition for a low pass like the first pass we did. Only this time we'll be using the Land Warfare Museum as our reference point. Watching the altitude, watching the speed. Speed is 200, 225, 230. Land Warfare Museum is in sight. Got our reference point. Wings level. A little bit of a dive. And topside view. Wings level and turning out to the right. Obviously watching our altitude over built up areas. Bloody track IR, I tell you. Heading back in, we'll be doing a right hand turn. Might not have time to get the wings level slightly, and turning out to the right. Don't want to be crossing the runway, gets you very close to the public. Throttling and prop pitching up a little bit. Just coming below 200 knots. I'll be setting up for the final pass. And this will be a run-in and break. Runway in sight. Gonna dive in towards the runway. Just throttling back a little bit, passing 250 knots. Wildcat, not the fastest fighter in the world. So wings level, again going 3/4 of the runway. Pulling up steeply and into a left-hand turn. Now we'll start to enter the landing pattern. So we're going to have our cowl flaps open for landing. Airspeed is 180 and descending. Canopy coming open. He says. I'll leave it open like that. Flaps coming down one stage. And we'll start the undercarriage travelling. It is a long time to get that gear down. Mixture is full, pop pitch is full, runways in sight. So airspeed is about 120. We don't really want to be descending much more than that. Just retrimming the aircraft out. Now we've got the flaps down and the gear down. Obviously the aircraft becomes quite nose heavy. So everything is correct, landing check's complete. It's not the longest runway in the world here at Duxford. And we obviously have the motorway to go over on our final approach. Not the best landing, not the worst landing. Just using the rudder, just keep the aircraft straight. As somebody already said, just because you've got the wheels on the ground does not mean the landing is over. You fly the aircraft down the runway until you come to a stable speed. Only one turn off here at the end of the runway, so we are just heading for it. Mixture coming back. Tail wheel is still unlocked from a takeoff. Should have really locked that. So, flaps coming up. Flaps up are checked. Obviously, like I say, we can't see anything from the wings. Just using the rudder to zigzag down the taxiway due to the fact there's a great big honking engine in front of me. Taxiing the F4F is a lot easier than taxiing the Spitfire, I can tell you that for now. Now I know that Milviz made a very decent copy of the Corsair, but I really would like to see Inibuilds progress to making a Hellcat, an Avenger, because if they're made to the level that the Wildcat here is made, it will be absolutely awesome. So instead of our taxiing to our original position, we're actually going to park up here because it is an interesting view. BAE 146, VC10, all sorts of wonderful aircraft here at Duxford. So, this is the one downside I've found in the Inibuilds F4F, and that is when you turn the engine off, because the props just automatically stop, just about. So, this is one of the downsides. I don't think that's totally realistic, but I digress. So, mags coming off. Fuel, if it goes the right way, off. Mixture is off. Cockpit's shut. Throttle is shut. Battery is off. Generator is off. So there you go. A flight in the Inibuilds F4F. Absolutely awesome. If you're into your warbirds, check this one out. It is a joy to fly. It is really one of the better warbirds out there for Microsoft Flight Simulator. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in a future video very, very soon.